charges, and it has an energy charges. You add it together, and it gives you the total energy. As I said, for residential, you don't get the demand at all. And the reason is, it's not that because they don't want to charge you demand, they love to charge you demand. But the meters is very complex, you know, because you've got to have two different types of a meter. A meter that is measuring the total amount of the energy it's used, and a meter that is showing the maximum amount of energy or power that is being consumed at a given month. Right? The meters that are measuring demand at the same time as user are complex, and these meters are not cheap. For every house, if you want to have a meter that measures the demand, you've got to add $2,000 to $3,000 cost. Who's going to pay for that cost? Utility companies. They have to see how long does it take for them to get that money back, you know? So it's not worth it for them at this time to do it. But for factories, because the difference is huge, they do it all the time. Natural gas rates are much simpler. It's in the amount of how many cubic foot of gas, natural gas you use, right? Every cubic foot has a price. You multiply it, and it gives you basically the total amount of the bill. In your bill, it tells you how many terms you have to use for energy. Every one term is equivalent to 100,000 BTU, right? 100,000 BTU is one term. Approximately, in the state of California, one term is about, in my calculation, I always go with one term, $1, but it's 1.2 these days. Okay? Who fixed the price? The state with the utility and a commission of the people. They get together once in a while, every 2-3 years, and they come up with a new pricing for every 1,000 BTU, basically. So your meter is going to measure how much gas is being used in cubic feet, and you pay based on that. Usually it's the same thing. You have a flat rate, and there's some customer charges that basically like, you know, $6 there, $7 there for fees, which is for equipment and units and mainly all service charges. You have seasonal rating sometimes, depending on the location. And gas also, exactly like electricity, you have block rates and tiers, but depending on how much you're using it, you pay different. If you are a huge consumer of gas, you can go and sit with gas company and negotiate a firm rates, right? You say, this is the rate I want to pay, and this is how much I pay. And usually, when you are negotiating that kind of a rate, the reason that gas company is interested to sit down with you and talk with you, because they get the money in advance. So for them, this is also very good. And sometimes, in the areas that are there's shortages of the gas, you can also ask the gas company to pay for penalties if they interrupt delivering gas. Right? If you have a big operation, your furnaces are interrupted because the gas is not delivered, it is in your contract, you can go and get some money back. If you have an operation that is dual fuel, like gas and gasoline at the same time, and if the gas is interrupted, you use your gasoline, you can get some credit back from the gas company for those kind of system as well. And with the regulation that they took away several years ago, about 10 years ago, they did some changes in the law. You can even buy your gas from another company, not gas company. Even the pipe is from gas company, right? Depending on what kind of a pricing we can get. So there are all kind of flexibility in order to buy your gas. So, as I said before, for measuring the consumption of gas, we are using British unit. So BTU is most of the time is the unit that we are going to use. So all of the calculation you will see in these presentations are BTU. Now, there are some conversion unit that is very handy to have all the time. And I'm not going to go through all of these right now, but just to tell you, I think these numbers are very interesting to see. If you look at, for example, 1 gallon of person oil is generating 134,000 BTU, right? Which is almost 1 ton, which is almost about $1, right? So, with this, it's always good to print out these kind of things, put it in the back of your notebooks so you use it whenever it's possible quickly. However, these days everybody on their phone have access to internet and you can do unit conversion very quickly. Okay, so let's talk about instrumentation that you need to use in order to do the energy management, energy auditing. One of the things that is always ignored and nobody pay attention to it is lighting, right? But lighting is huge in terms of energy consumption, especially when it comes to residential and commercial shopping malls, office spaces, right? The number of the lights that is being used in every room has to be calculated based on what is the purpose of this room, how many people are in this room, what's the dimension of the room, right? And you have to be able to measure that. So there are devices that you can come, and there are basically engineering units developed for that. I have it in one of the slides. I don't have it here right now. But anyway, so there are devices that you bring to a room, basically, and it tells you how bright is this room is. And there are tables for a classroom, for a hospital, for a living room, and how bright it should be. If you are higher than that number, then there is a potential for energy saving. But it doesn't have to be that high. You can reduce the lighting risk. And the lighting is very important with these days with lights that are coming, they are LED and they are doing different type of a saving. I was at a friend's house a couple of weeks ago, and his house is a big house and has lots of lights fixture. And his bill was coming, he moved to this house recently, about a couple of months ago, and his electricity bill, and even this is winter time, it's not summer, so it's not using air conditioning, is about $400 per month. It was huge. So he asked me to look at it, and so one night when I was over there, I was trying to find out where are the energy consumption, right? You have the refrigerator, you have the dryer, washer dryer, you have the washing machine, but those are fixed, right? You cannot do anything about those. Those are, every house has those things. So what's the difference between this house and the other houses? Why he gets $400 per month? The only difference I saw was the lights. All of the bulbs were kind of old-fashioned bulbs, right? So I told him, you got to change the bulbs. That's the only recommendation I have. So he had about 100 bulbs to change. So he spent about $4 per bulb, so that is about $400, right? And he changed all of the bulbs. I was talking to him about a couple of days ago. I asked him, did your bill come back? The new bill is $150. Right? So in 2 months, he's going to get his money back. In 2 months. So lighting is very important. Don't underestimate it, especially when it comes to residential places. Then you have to be able to measure temperature and humidity. You have to be able to measure the carbon dioxide because there are standards for level of carbon dioxide in every room, specifically when it comes to hospitals and places like that. And the other thing that is very important when you measure carbon dioxide is also it gives you a sense of occupancy of the building. Sometimes in order to see how is the flow of the air inside a facility, you use devices that generate the smoke, and you can follow the smoke to see if there is a infiltration somewhere. And those devices also are very cheap. You can just buy them. They look like this. Like a toothpaste, you just open it up. It has certain amount of the smoke is coming, so you can follow the smoke. Not expensive at all. There are many different types of thermometers you can buy. The thermometer that I use, and is a laser one. You can point it up to 30 feet. You can measure it easily, and it's very good. It cost me about $40. I bought it actually in Home Depot. It was fine. You could spend $5,000 on a thermometer, depending on what you want to do. If you're trying to measure temperatures above 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, then it's very difficult. You have to measure it using radiation technology and things like that, infrared camera, and that becomes very expensive. But for regular temperature measurement, you don't spend more than $30 to $40. So you have your unit in hand, you have